The PlayStation Vita had some genuinely great games that still hold up today. Here are the 25 best titles the handheld ever produced. Persona 4 Golden is #1 on this list for a reason that anyone who has played it will understand immediately. The JRPG released by Atlus is widely considered the definitive version of one of the greatest games ever made, blending a deeply written murder mystery story set in a Japanese countryside town with some of the most addictive social simulation and dungeon crawling systems the genre has ever produced. The Vita version added new content, new social links, and a polish that made an already exceptional game feel complete in every possible way. Coming in at #2, Gravity Rush was the game that genuinely felt like it was built for the Vita and nothing else. You play as Kat, a girl with the power to shift gravity at will, gliding and falling through a stunning hand-drawn Art Nouveau city called Hexaville in ways that felt completely impossible on any other hardware at the time. The motion controls enhanced the experience in subtle ways, and the whole game carried a personality and visual identity that still holds up as one of Sony's most underrated creative achievements. #3 belongs to Uncharted Golden Abyss, the portable entry in Naughty Dog's beloved adventure franchise that served as a genuine Uncharted experience in the palm of your hand rather than a compromise. Developer SCE Bend Studio built a prequel story for Nathan Drake that used the Vita's touchscreen and rear touchpad in ways that felt natural rather than forced, and the production values for a handheld launch title were genuinely impressive. It proved from day one that the Vita delivered console-quality action-adventure games on the go. At #4, Tearaway is one of the most charming and inventive games ever made for any handheld platform, built entirely around the idea that the player exists in the real world, looking into a paper-craft universe through the Vita screen. Media Molecule used every single feature of the hardware, including the camera, the rear touchpad, the microphone, and the gyroscope, in ways that felt magical rather than gimmicky. The result is a game that could only exist on the Vita, and that remains one of the most joyful gaming experiences the platform ever produced. #5 is Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc, the visual novel murder mystery from Spike Chunsoft that introduced one of the most memorable gaming villains in recent history in the form of Monokuma the robotic bear. 16 high school students are trapped in a school and forced to participate in a killing game where the only way out is to commit murder and avoid detection during class trials. The writing is sharp, the trial mechanics are genuinely tense, and the story escalates to a conclusion that left players hungry for every sequel that followed. At #6, Killzone Mercenary remains the most technically impressive first-person shooter ever released on a handheld console, without any meaningful competition for that title. Guerrilla Cambridge built a game that looked and played like a condensed console Killzone, with a campaign following a mercenary working both sides of the war and a multiplayer suite that kept the Vita community active for years. The haptic feedback from the triggers, the sharp visuals on the OLED screen, and the smooth frame rate made it a showpiece from what the hardware could do. LittleBigPlanet PS Vita takes the 7th spot as a love letter to the Vita hardware that used every feature of the device to create one of the most creative and expressive platformers on the system. The touchscreen and rear pad opened up entirely new level design possibilities that the console versions could not replicate, and the full creation suite meant the community was producing extraordinary custom levels for years after launch. It captured the warmth and imagination of the console LittleBigPlanet games, while feeling purpose-built for the handheld format in every way. At #9, Rayman Origins is a masterclass in 2D platformer design that happened to run beautifully on Vita hardware and looked stunning on the handheld OLED display. Ubisoft Montpellier built a game with a hand-painted art style so vibrant and kinetic that every world feels alive in a way that few games in any genre manage. The level design is inventive and demanding, the co-op works beautifully, and the overall experience is one of the finest traditional platformers available on any Sony platform from that generation. #10 is Soul Sacrifice, the monster hunting action RPG from Keiji Inafune and Marvelous that was designed from the ground up as a Vita exclusive to fill the gap left by Monster Hunter on the platform. You play as a sorcerer who sacrifices body parts to gain power, working through a dark fairy tale world filled with creatures that are often twisted versions of classic characters. The multiplayer hunt system was excellent, and the game built a dedicated community that stayed active well past launch, making it one of the Vita's most important original titles. At number 11, Virtue's Last Reward is the sequel to 999 and one of the finest visual novels ever created, a complex branching narrative puzzle game that demands multiple playthroughs to fully understand the story it is telling. You are trapped in a facility with 8 other characters, forced to play a survival game that involves complex prisoner's dilemma decisions, and the branching flowchart that lets you navigate different outcomes is one of the most elegant storytelling systems in the medium. The writing is dense, intelligent, and deeply rewarding for players willing to commit fully to it. Number 12 is Eyes, Memories of Celceta, the action RPG from Nihon Falcom that served as the definitive entry point for the beloved Eye series for many Western players discovering it on Vita. You play as a doll Kristen with amnesia, mapping an enormous ancient forest while uncovering your own forgotten past through encounters with memorable characters and fast-paced hack-and-slash combat that the series is known for. The party-based combat system introduced here was a meaningful evolution for the franchise, and the game remains one of the best action RPGs on the platform. At number 13, Dragon's Crown is the Vanillaware beat-em-up RPG hybrid that sent the handheld gaming world into a frenzy when it launched, with its exaggerated art style and extraordinarily deep loot and class systems. You choose from 6 distinct character classes, including a fighter, an Amazon, a dwarf, a sorceress, an elf, and a wizard, each playing completely differently through side-scrolling dungeon crawls that reward repeated runs with escalating loot quality and difficulty. The local and online multiplayer made it one of the best cooperative experiences on the Vita library. Number 14 is Spelunky, the roguelike platformer from Derek Yu, that found a completely natural home on the Vita and remains one of the most influential indie games ever made. Every run through the procedurally generated caves is different. The secrets are layered deep enough that dedicated players were still discovering new mechanics years after launch. And the game has a precision to its controls and physics that makes every death feel earned rather than unfair. It is one of those games that is technically beatable in minutes, but practically impossible to master. At number 15, Hotline Miami is the top-down, hyper-violent action puzzle game that arrived on Vita as one of the definitive ways to experience one of the most acclaimed indie games of its generation. The combination of instant death, instant restart, and an insanely propulsive synthwave soundtrack created an addictive loop of planning and execution that kept players glued to the screen across dozens of stages set in a lurid neon Miami. The portable format was actually perfect for the game's structure, and the touchscreen controls added a natural feel to mask selection. Number 16 is Shovel Knight, the retro-inspired action platformer from Yacht Club Games that became one of the most celebrated indie games of the decade and played beautifully on Vita hardware. Each stage is designed around a unique boss knight with their own mechanics and personality. The controls are tight and responsive, and the whole game carries a genuine love and understanding of the 8-bit era it is paying homage to, rather than simply copying surface aesthetics. The Plague of Shadows and Spectre of Torment campaigns added significant replay value well after the initial release. At number 17, Minecraft PlayStation Vita Edition brought the full sandbox survival experience to the handheld in a way that made complete sense, given how naturally the game lends itself to short creative sessions. Building, mining, and surviving in a procedurally generated world on a portable screen was genuinely compelling, and the Vita version kept pace with console updates for a meaningful stretch of the game's lifespan. It introduced an entire generation of handheld players to a game they would continue playing across platforms for years afterward. Number 18 is Final Fantasy X and X2 HD Remaster, 2 complete JRPG classics presented on the Vita screen with upgraded visuals and the full international content that was previously unavailable in certain regions. Final Fantasy X remains one of the most emotionally resonant entries in the entire franchise, with a story that builds to one of the most impactful conclusions the series has ever produced. And the HD remaster made the already beautiful art direction look genuinely impressive on the portable OLED display. Getting both games in one package was exceptional value. At number 19, The Ratchet and Clank Collection brought the first 3 PlayStation 2 entries in Sony's beloved platformer franchise to the Vita in a package that held up extremely well on the handheld screen. Playing through the original trilogy on the go gave longtime fans a nostalgic portable experience and gave newer players a chance to see where the franchise began in some of its most creative and inventive outings. The humor, the variety of weapons, and the charm of the writing all translated perfectly to the handheld format. Number 20 is the Jak and Daxter Collection, which brought the iconic PlayStation 2 Naughty Dog trilogy to the Vita and gave players a chance to revisit one of the studio's most beloved and ambitious creative periods in portable form. The 3 games span platforming, open-world action, and a dark narrative evolution that remains one of the most interesting genre shifts in any long-running franchise. And the transition to the Vita was handled cleanly, with the visuals holding up well enough to be genuinely enjoyable on the handheld screen. At number 21, Velocity 2X is the shoot-'em-up action platformer hybrid from FutureLab that stands as one of the most technically polished and creatively designed original Vita exclusives ever released. You pilot a spacecraft through shooting sections before teleporting into on-foot platformer sequences within the same level, in a flow that is seamless and brilliantly executed. The speed and precision of the gameplay, combined with a pulsing electronic soundtrack, made it a critical darling that demonstrated exactly what an original Vita title at the top of its craft looked like. Number 22 is Lumines Electronic Symphony, the music puzzle game from Tetsuya Mizuguchi that took an already excellent portable franchise and elevated it into a full audio-visual experience built specifically for the Vita hardware. The core falling block puzzle mechanic is deceptively simple and endlessly hypnotic. And the way the game synchronizes every block clear and cascade to the rhythm of a curated electronic soundtrack creates a meditative flow state that is genuinely unlike any other puzzle game in the handheld library. A perfect game for the format in every way. At number 23, Sound Shapes is the rhythm platformer from Queasy Games and Jonathan Blow that doubles as a full music creation tool, letting players build their own levels and soundscapes using the Vita's touch interface in genuinely expressive ways. The campaign levels designed by artists including Beck and Deadmau5 demonstrate what the concept is capable of at its highest level, and the tight integration between your movement through each level and the music it generates gives the game a feel that no other title in the library replicates, an understated gem of the platform. Number 24 is Wipeout 2048, the futuristic anti-gravity racing game from Studio Liverpool that launched alongside the Vita and remained one of the most technically impressive titles on the system for its entire lifespan. The speed, the track design, the electronic soundtrack, and the sharp visuals made it the definitive portable Wipeout experience and one of the best racing games available on any handheld console. The online multiplayer suite added significant depth, and the crossplay features with PS3 were innovative for their time and gave the game a broader competitive community. Closing out the list at number 25, Freedom Wars is the action RPG from SCE Japan Studio and Shift that cast players as prisoners in a dystopian future city fighting massive biomechanical enemies called abductors to earn freedom by reducing a 1 million-year sentence. The combat system, involving grappling hooks called thorns that let you climb and disable giant enemies, was inventive and satisfying. The co-op multiplayer was excellent, and the world building around the concept of a society run entirely on criminal labor points was genuinely interesting. It remains one of the most original Vita exclusives the platform produced.